Welcome to Miami. Today it thrums as a global crossroads, a mosaic of over 6 million lives, celebrated for its sun-drenched shores, vibrant Art Deco silhouette, and a rich Latin-infused heartbeat. But cast your mind back to 1825. This same spot was a silent, sprawling coastline, its sole sentinel a lonely lighthouse standing guard against perilous reefs. Through this reconstructed journey, woven from historical fragments, aerial vistas, and aged photographs, we will witness Miami's metamorphosis from a remote frontier into one of America's most electrifying urban stories. Join us as we resurrect the past. Suggest the next city for our exploration in the comments below. The lone sentinel, Cape Florida Lighthouse, c. 1825. On the wind-swept southern tip of Key Biscayne, the Cape Florida Lighthouse pierces the sky, the oldest standing structure in what would one day be Miami. This brick tower was a solitary beacon guiding maritime traffic through the labyrinthine Florida Straits, its light a silent plea steering ships from the razor-sharp reefs lurking beneath shallow waters. A humble keeper's dwelling crouched beside it, engulfed by a sea of scrub and defiant palm trees. This was isolation defined, a post of quiet peril. Years later, in 1836, this isolation would shatter when Seminole warriors laid siege, forcing Keeper John Thompson into a desperate retreat up the tower as flames devoured the wooden staircase below. Yet in this earlier moment, its beam swept over an untouched wilderness, painting empty shores with the ghostly promise of a future metropolis. The seed, Fort Dallas and the Miami River, mid-19th century. The essence of Miami at this time could be contained within the walls of a blacksmith shop at Fort Dallas. A mere handful of souls clung to existence at the mouth of the Miami River, their lives tenuously linked to the remnants of Richard Fitzpatrick's failed plantation or William English's equally struggling attempts to revive it. The Second and Third Seminole Wars had scorched this land, leaving it scarred and sparsely populated for decades. Through most of the 1800s, the area slumbered. By the 1890s, visionaries like Julia Tuttle and the Brickell family had quietly amassed much of the land, holding it with a patient, almost prophetic certainty. They were waiting for a catalyst. That catalyst was steaming south in the form of Henry Flagler's Iron Horse, a railroad that would, almost overnight, electrify this sleepy outpost into a fledgling city. The Barrier Island Dream. Miami Beach emerges, c. 1910s. The glittering metropolis of Miami Beach did not yet exist. It was merely a slender barrier island, a realm of mangroves and mosquitoes reachable only by boat. From the sky above Government Cut, the early outlines of ambition appear. The Miami Beach Kennel Club sits to the left, while a wooden pier from South Beach Finger paints into the Atlantic. North of a tiny cluster of hotels, Lummis Park, named for the Lummis brothers, pioneering developers of the island's southern end, hints at a curated future. John N. Lummis would soon become the city's first mayor. Even then, developers saw not a swamp but a canvas. The relentless work of dredging and filling had begun, a literal reshaping of earth and water to forge a resort destined to captivate the world. Bohemian Rhapsody, Espanola Way, 1920s. Espanola Way embodies the romantic, sun-drenched fantasy of 1920s Miami Beach. This was the boom. Conceived by developer N.B.T. Roney as a purposeful artist colony, the street is a stage set of Mediterranean revival architecture, terracotta roofs, ochre-hued stucco walls, and wrought iron balconies dripping with bougainvillea. It was designed as a bohemian enclave, a pocket of old-world charm and artistic flair within the burgeoning resort. The scene is one of deliberate, elegant, picturesque quiet. This confident dream, however, was poised on a precipice. The coming depression would soon stall Miami's feverish growth. Yet these very buildings would endure, standing as pastel-colored monuments to an era of boundless optimism, when developers believed they could conjure European romance from Florida sand and willpower. The Fifth Avenue of the South, Lincoln Road, c. 1930s-40s, Lincoln Road proudly bills itself as the Fifth Avenue of the South. Palms stand sentry along a boulevard where automobiles glide past the sleek Lincoln Theater and modern storefronts. This was the vision of promoter Carl G. Fisher realized, a sandy scrubland transformed into the beach's premier district for shopping and entertainment. The Lincoln Theater on the left anchors the cultural life, offering first-run films in air-conditioned luxury, a testament to modern comfort. This is Miami Beach in resurgence, rediscovering its stride after the bust and crafting an identity as a sophisticated winter haven. While later decades would see it reimagined as a pedestrian mall, here in this moment, it hums with the kinetic energy of the automobile age. VI, the signature style, Ocean Drive and Tropical Deco, c. 1930s, Ocean Drive is the definitive portrait of Art Deco Miami Beach. Looking north, the streamlined, nautical facade of a hotel like the Edison represents the architectural revolution washing over South Beach. These were not grandiose palaces, but affordable, efficient, modern temples built for the sun-seeking motorist. Rounded eyebrow corners, horizontal speed lines, porthole windows, and a palette of soft pastels coalesced into a distinctive style later dubbed Tropical Deco. Cars nudge against curbs on both sides. The Atlantic's azure waves are just a few strides away across the sand. This is the birthplace of Miami Beach's iconic aesthetic, an architecture of cool elegance, crafted for velocity, leisure, and radiant light. Ironically, these modest, stylish buildings would one day become the armor that saved their neighborhood from the wrecking ball. VII. Bridges to ambition, causeways and reshaped waters, c. 1920s-30s. From above, the Venetian and MacArthur causeways stitch Miami Beach to the mainland across Biscayne Bay, revealing a core truth of Miami's identity, its relentless manipulation of landscape. The Venetian Causeway, 1926, was more than a road. It was a key unlocking automobile access and triggering explosive growth. Artificial islands like Belle Isle were conjured from the bay, their shorelines soon etched with waterfront properties. This aerial perspective showcases Miami's foundational alchemy, the constant re-sculpting of land and water into coveted real estate. The causeways didn't just connect geography, they tamed it, transforming the beach from a seasonal getaway into a place for year-round life. VII. The Peak and the Precipice, an aerial view before the fall, c. 1925, the MacArthur Causeway stretches across the bay like a taut ribbon of ambition. This aerial snapshot freezes a moment of peak prosperity just before the cascade. Miami's real estate bubble would burst in 1925. Then, in September 1926, a catastrophic hurricane would roar ashore, claiming hundreds of lives and scattering splintered buildings across the landscape. The causeway in this image symbolizes the city's fierce drive to connect, expand, and prosper. The Great Depression loomed just ahead, a one-two punch of economic and natural disaster. Yet this photograph holds the seed of Miami's enduring spirit, a capacity to survive, rebuild, and relentlessly bet on the next boom. IX. The main artery, Flagler Street, c. 1930s-40s, Flagler Street buzzes with the energy of downtown Miami. Cars angle park along curbs as pedestrians weave between shops and rising office blocks. The street is a living tribute to Henry Flagler, whose railroad in 1896 didn't just arrive, but effectively invented the city. His Royal Palm Hotel had planted Miami firmly on the map as a winter destination. Now, Flagler Street serves as its commercial heart. The architecture, a blend of enduring Art Deco and Mediterranean revival, speaks of a city pulling itself from the Depression's grip. The Seminole Wars that once ravaged the region feel like a distant, dusty legend as streetcars and traffic signals herald Miami's arrival as a modern American urban center. The ancient waterway. The Miami River, early 20th century. The Miami River meanders through a lush, tropical landscape, fringed by royal palms and serene estates. This is the primordial Miami, the liquid highway that first dictated the settlement's location. Long before rails and roads, the river was the vital artery, a route inland for the Tequesta people who thrived along its banks for millennia. Now, it offers a respite for wealthy winter residents who build secluded homes to enjoy its verdant privacy. The river remains a tangible, muddy link to the Everglades wilderness, but the view is deceptive. The press of development is already at the gates, turning wilderness into suburb. This tranquil scene is a fleeting last glance at old Florida. XI. A modest skyline, downtown and the railroad, c. 1930s, downtown Miami's early skyline rises with modest aspiration above the sprawling railroad yards. A handful of taller buildings punctuate the horizon, declarations of a city intending to matter. Though the Depression has quieted the construction clamor, the railroad infrastructure dominating the foreground reveals Miami's immutable essence. It is a creation of transportation. Flagler's fateful decision still powers the economy. These buildings are monuments to the 1920s boom, erected with an optimism that outpaced reality. Here, Miami learns the cyclical rhythm that will define its history: spectacular growth, staggering collapse, and resilient rebirth. XII. Gateway to the Americas. Pan American Airways 1940s. At Dinner Key, the elegant Art Deco terminal of Pan American Airways stands as a portal to another world. This is the era of the majestic flying boat, where aircraft like the Clipper lift directly from the waters of Biscayne Bay bound for Latin America and the Caribbean. Pan Am pioneered international passenger travel, cementing Miami's role as the aviation crossroads of the Americas. During World War II, the terminal hums with both military and essential civilian traffic. The prominent globe at its center is no mere ornament. It is a symbol of Miami's destiny. This is the glimpse of the future, not merely a beach resort, but an international nexus, the premier link between North and South. XIII, the Canyon of Progress, Biscayne Boulevard, 1960s. Biscayne Boulevard has been transformed into a canyon of glass, steel, and ambition. The Everglades Hotel towers on the right, surrounded by newer, sleeker high-rises that speak to a vertical ascent. Palms soften the hard edges of concrete and glass. This is a city in profound transition, shedding its skin as a seasonal resort to emerge as a year-round metropolitan powerhouse. Two revolutions fuel this: the massive influx of Cuban refugees who are irrevocably reshaping the city's cultural and economic fabric, and the miracle of air conditioning, making the tropical summer livable. The space-age aesthetics of these buildings reflect a confidence in technology and a forward thrust. Miami is no longer just looking north for validation. It is confidently positioning itself as the capital of the Caribbean, the American city with its gaze fixed firmly on the hemisphere to the south. Epilogue: the unfinished city Miami's story is not one of linear progress, but of pulsating cycles, of dreamers drawing lines on maps, of nature pushing back with storm and swamp, and of an endless human tide of reinvention. It is a city built on audacious geography, dredged, filled, bridged, and paved. From a lone lighthouse warning of danger, it became a beacon of opportunity. Its architecture, from Mediterranean fantasy to streamlined deco to glass towers, chronicles its changing aspirations. Each bust proved not to be an end, but a pause before the next improbable chapter. Today, as its skyline continues to evolve and its cultural tapestry grows ever more complex, Miami remains, at its heart, that frontier outpost, forever under construction, forever dreaming itself anew.